Hello, hello, hello. How are you? Welcome to another compilation episode of Metautism podcast. I'm your host, Klara, and today we're compiling genuine stories from autistic individuals and parents. You'll hear advice from parents, insights from lived experiences, and reflections on how society can do better in employment, education, and inclusion. My hope is that this compilation leaves us with both inspiration but also practical takeaways for building a more supportive world. We begin with heartfelt advice from Ivana Jurasanic, a mother of autistic teenager. Right now their family is moving cities, so their son can attend vocational high school that truly fits his needs and interests. Although her words and advice are aimed at the parents, I believe that anyone can find value in them.
Surround yourself by the people who understand you, because support doesn't always come from family or from close friends. Connect yourself with the right associations that are nearby, or with the parents that have a similar situation. Autism is not a big babaroga or some old witch that you have to be afraid of. Get to know your kid. Find out what he likes, what he doesn't like, what he enjoys. Find these moments with him that you are really, just having fun. For example, for us, it's riding a bike. Mate is enjoying riding a bike or skiing or ice skating. So we are doing a lot of these activities to connect, to just to laugh, to have a good time. Read books, for example, Neurotribes from, I think it's Steve Sibelman, Neuroplemena. It's really nice book to recommend. Look at the movies. For example, Inside Out, just to get the picture, to relax yourself, go to the nature, look at the green leaves, everything. Try to find some happiness, what's good for you and also what's good for your kid. And things will come out, And especially when you look nowadays opportunities and, for example, this project, these technical tools, virtual reality, argumentative communicators, and so on. Relax yourself. I know it sounds a little bit strange, but if you are, in all the fear, your kid will sense that and you will not get any far. That's my advice to the parents.
Our next valuable insight comes from David Eaton, Project and Policy Officer at Autism Europe. In his episode, he shared his experience on what it's like to grow up, go to school, and find employment as autistic person. But he also spoke about something that we don't hear nearly enough: the experiences of women on spectrum, partially based on his sister's experience. It's very powerful and eye-opening story, so I think it's very worth mentioning it here.
A lot of time, it's people like my sister, women in general with autism, they're not diagnosed. The symptoms aren't recognized. The traits of autism aren't recognized. Not symptoms, I correct myself. A lot of girls are left undiagnosed and are put into horrible situations for large parts of their lives because of that lack of diagnosis.
Incredible message. I mean, it's a good one. If you have anything more to expand on it, so please do so. If not, it's also completely fine.
In general, when we're talking about autism and women or autism and girls, particularly during the ages where it becomes obvious that, or a little bit more obvious that a person's autistic. Because how our society treats women are more inclined or more pressured to mask. Our autistic traits are less obvious or less seen because everything is designed, or every diagnostic tool was designed around people like me, boring, male-presenting people. So women are frequently underdiagnosed, and then they're badly diagnosed with borderline personality disorder is a huge misdiagnostic for autistic women. Depression, OCD, these are long-term health conditions, but they all stem from having autism. In terms of our society does not accept or does not cater towards autistic people. So women and girls with autism actually have to fight so much harder than boys. And this is the misdiagnosis or underdiagnosis problem. And this is very important to address because it's full spectrum. It can affect anyone from any position or any background. And the fact that it's been built entirely around the idea that it's only young white boys who have autism, and leads to problems and for other people. We need to always be mindful of we're all a society and we're all a community. And it is a stunning issue or a stunning kind of level of cognitive dissonance by medical and educational professionals where they do not want to see women as potentially be having autism, particularly in the past. It's getting better now, but there's still backgrounds of it. I know of at least my case of my sister. I know in the case of one of my best friends who also similarly was bullied out of secondary school and high school and had a whole waft of misdiagnoses and diagnostic failures that just did not suit her. And when she had her son, somewhat later in life, and he started primary school, and he was going through this psychological assessment processes, that's how she got her diagnosis. This rate of underdiagnosis means inappropriate medication or inappropriate therapies are given or interventions are given to people, which can be, especially at the early ages, very damaging later on in life. And this is very important to care about the full spectrum of autism, and that means each individual, whether they're a boy or a girl.
Our third lesson comes from Patrícia Castanha, an administrative secretary at FPDA, Portuguese Federation for Autism. Her role is perfectly aligned with her strengths as she thrives on organization, punctuality, and determination. She described aspects of vocational education and training that helped her succeed. She also gets great value from technology, and this is how she uses it in her daily life.
One of the most important aspects was the opportunity of joining the public schools. There I learned to deal with every kind of a person and face multiple situations, including rejection. It was also important my decision to choose a technical course because this gave me the opportunity to attend several on-job training stages to practice what I've learned. Through this on-job training stages, I was able to prepare myself and realize my dream of having a job to allow me to reach my independence.
Aurélie Baranger, director at Autism Europe, gave us an exclusive insight into the 14th International Autism Europe Congress that took place in Dublin this September with the theme Quality of Life, Policy, Research and Practice. But beyond the Congress itself, Aurélie gave us incredible and valuable insight into how to make conferences and gatherings truly inclusive for autistic and neurodivergent people. And those are the lessons that go far beyond one Congress.
It's great also to discuss how to make a society more accessible in general, but your question about how to make meetings accessible is important. It's often through meetings that we include people. So, well, maybe first one thing would be to consider whether a meeting is always necessary, but when it is, it's for autistic persons, for example, people, it's important that there is predictability and structure in the meeting. So it means ensuring that there's a very clear agenda and that you stick to the agenda. You should really avoid any last minute changes or disruption because that can be very unsettling for everyone, but in particular for autistic participants. Then, of course, the venue itself has to be accessible. So it's important, for example, to take into account the sensory aspects, avoid meeting venues that are too loud, for example. Make sure also that there is a flexible seating arrangement. People may want to sit where they want, and it's important to have space as well. Generally speaking, it's not good to have a crowded environment. Pay attention to the temperature, that it's nice temperature for everyone. The light, of course, is very important. If possible, it's better to have natural light. And then it's also about facilitating participation. So making sure that everyone has the opportunity to speak if they want to. So sometimes it means also creating smaller groups for people to be more at ease to share their experience. Other times it means that people may want to share, for example, their input later on in writing because they don't want to speak during the event. It's also important to share accessible documents to prepare the meeting. So, for example, documents in easy to read format. You can have also what we call interaction pages where people can express whether or not they want to engage in whether during, for example, the breaks, whether they want you to approach them or whether they prefer to take a break and not engage in social interaction. You may want also to have enough breaks during the session so that people can relax, regulate their emotion and sensory inputs. All of these aspects can be considered to make a meeting more accessible for everyone.
Our final lesson comes from Eva Tuličić, mother of Šimon, 10-year-old boy who is on spectrum, but she's also coordinator of Blue Flower or Plavi Cvijet Association. The association is dedicated to improving the quality of life of autistic people and their families. Eva leaves us with thoughts on what still needs to improve in the society.
One of the reasons why we founded this association is because there are a lot of associations for children with difficulties, but not for specific for autism. And autism is very, very specific in terms of their needs. This is why we kind of started from the beginning and still feel that there are a lot of space for improvement in both in everyday life, in inclusion, in everyday activities, and understanding from our local communities. I always say that I think it's most important for parents and for families to kind of talk about that there are different difficulties, not just autism, and that kind of in every classes now you can find at least one child with some kind of learning difficulty. And we just need to talk with our children because soon they're going to be grown-ups who are going to be leaders, who are going to be decision makers, who can really change things for children with different difficulties and then for children with autism. I still find, and I see that a lot of our parents still find everyday life very, very challenging for us just by, having autism and then by kind of having it in the community that still does not really respond, not always in a good way, but there are really good changes. And I always say that when for one kind of situation that doesn't feel right for me, when we feel not accepted, let's say, I find at least one good thing about our local community. Like what I wanted to say is it kind of still happens that a lot of people know us and they kind of they respond in a good way. Like they see Šimon maybe is not in a good mood, but they still kind of laugh at him or give him a smile or a pat on his back. This is something, that keeps us going. Although there are still situations completely different than the one I just explained. So I think if the acceptance in the community, gets bigger, then everything will be easier for us. But what I always say, maybe I learned it with having my son, but I always kind of give children benefit of doubt. What is specific about autism that you can't see autism on our children's faces. You can see it after a while on their behavior. So what I just would really love for people to do is when you see a child behaving maybe not typically, give him a benefit of a doubt. Don't, judge him at the beginning. Think maybe he's going through something difficult. Maybe he has some kind of difficulties. Maybe he has autism. Maybe he doesn't.
I think this is a perfect note to end this compilation on because it gives us something to reflect on. I hope these stories gave you insight into what actually inclusion means. If you'd like to explore further, please check our other episodes, our other compilations on employment and technology and inclusion. Of course, thank you so much for tuning in, and until the next time, keep spreading awareness and kindness. And of course, thank you to the Erasmus Plus program of European Union for funding this project. All opinions are our own. Thank you once again, and